We already spoke about Iran and the situation in Iran, and someone who often comes to our programming to comment about that and to teach us about that is our dear friend, Professor Dr. Abbas Milani, Iranian scholar, American scholar, historian, and teacher of everything about Iran. Abbas Milani, welcome back to Program N1.
Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure as always.
Abbas, when we spoke last time, it was a crisis like this, and we were discussing how far or how close we are to the toppling of a regime. I remember that we discussed that Ali Khamenei was not seen for about 2 weeks in public at that time. But this is a new crisis, and this crisis didn't came as a result of something horrific as was killing of Mahsa Amini. This came as something what you predicted, that the people are not that much satisfied with life and they want to change. They want to see a different Iran. But what you're hearing from inside Iran at the moment?
What I'm hearing from inside Iran is that frightened, fractured, isolated regime, out of fear of its people, has taken to killing people. They have killed anywhere. The minimum number I have heard is 3,500. The maximum number I have heard is 20,000. And everything I hear from inside Iran leads me to believe that the number is closer to the higher number than the lower number. But even 3,500 is horrendous, to kill innocent people who are demonstrating for the right to survive. The economy is in shambles. Corruption is endemic. And while the economy is collapsing, Khamenei is spending billions of dollars outside Iran, rearming Hezbollah and other proxies. People have had it with this regime. They have virtually nothing to lose but their life, it seems. And they have taken their life into their hand and come to the streets. And with this mass killing, some of it reported to be done by outside proxies that the regime has brought to Iran from Hezbollah, from Iraq. There are credible reports that a few hundred Hashd al-Shaabi forces have entered. That just made it more impossible for them to survive.
I tried to explain to my viewership here in Bosnia that the Iranian median age at the moment is 33, 34, and we already spoke about that. And also literacy is extremely high, between 15 and 24, almost 99%. So what I presume is that the people there, young people there, are circumventing all the sanctions and all the blockages of the regime, and they're seeing life outside of Iran. Is that what you're hearing and seeing, that they want to get that life, which is a normal life today, outside of Iran?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons for people's profound disgruntlement. This regime came to power in 79, when Iran had a very thriving economy. In 77 was one of the most blooming economies in the developing world. At that time, United Arab Emirates was just beginning to be a country. People look at United Arab Emirates. The television is very open, used to be open. People have satellite. People have internet, or had internet. The regime has now completely blacked out the internet, and could see what life is like in United Arab Emirates and what life is like in Iran. And Iran, in every way, is richer than United Arab Emirates. It has more gas. It has more oil. It has a bigger population. It has a very youthful, internet-savvy youth. It has a remarkable woman. So for every indicator, Iran should be where South Korea is today. Iran was competitive economically with South Korea in 75. Look at where South Korea is, and look at what this regime and its bankrupt policies have done to the country. That's why the youth, as you say, are up in arms, and the regime has not just lost the youth. The regime has lost its traditional basis of support, the bazaar, which is historically a base of support for them. They were the trigger of this new round of demonstration.
But when I watch the documentaries about 79 or before 79, when people went to the streets, they were chanting death to the dictator, death to Shah. The street was against Shah at the moment. But now we are hearing the same chants from these people against Ali Khamenei and his regime. And what's striking to me, Jon Stewart, who's a comedian, but on a very serious podcast this week with Fareed Zakaria, he says, Iran is like Lion King. It's a circle of life. And then he pointed out to 53, to Dr. Mossadegh, what happened to him, and then the change of regime, and then 79 and change of regime, and then now 26 and presumably change of regime. Do you agree with that assessment? But also, is this 79 for Khamenei as it was 79 to Shah at the time?
Well, in some ways there are similarities, I think. In some ways there are dissimilarities. I think the most profound dissimilarity is that the Shah was, in a sense, a patriot. When he saw that he couldn't rule unless he killed many thousands, he decided to leave, and he left. Khamenei now knows he can't rule, but he's willing to kill half of the population to survive. The Shah had a military that was still very much following his commands. He could have killed many, many more. That's one profound sense of difference. But I haven't watched the Jon Stewart show that you point to, although I'm a big fan of Jon Stewart's. But the reason you see these constant upheavals in Iran is that this regime came to power on a lie. Khomeini literally lied and promised to create a republic based on democracy, based on the French Fifth Republic Constitution. That's what he promised when he was in Paris. When he came in Iran, he created a medieval theocracy. A medieval theocracy that says, I, Khomeini, now Khomeini, I speak for God. I'm God's representative on earth. I don't care whether you like me or not. Everything belongs to me. I make the final decision. You are literally, verbatim quoting Khomeini. People of Iran are like sheep, and I'm the shepherd. Well, people of Iran don't think they're like sheep, and they certainly don't think you, the clergy, are deserving to be the shepherd. For people who lived in Bosnia and Yugoslavia under Tito, they remember that's the model. The model was the Communist Party is the shepherd who knows better. They're the vanguard. They see the future, and everybody has to follow. And if you don't follow, there you were a treasonous spy. Here you're a heretic. People in Bosnia said, hell with that. People in almost all of Yugoslavia said, hell with that. People in Iran are saying, hell with that. Very simple.
Many are making parallels between Shah and Khomeini, and many are saying that this is, in a sense, a fight or struggle between those who want to see times of Shah when Iran was prosperous and free and democratic in a sense, and they don't want to see this. But what I want to ask you, is that really so, or there is a third line between them going to maybe keep a bit from both, but to make something what's more suitable for Iranian population today, which is, I presume, much more different than the one of the Shah and the one which Khomeini and Khamenei has envisioned for Iran?
I think the battle of the last 100 years in Iran, and I just finished a book on this, and hopefully it's in Farsi now, but it will be in English later. It will be printed soon, where I say the dominant battle of the last 100 years in Iran, in a sense, is between Khomeini and Reza Shah, the father of the Shah. The Shah continued his father's essential model. One is a kind of modernity based on rationalism, based on a kind of a social contract, based on modernizing the world, secularizing the world, and depending on Iran's heritage. Khomeini's model, and he has repeatedly written this, is a model against modernity, and it's a model against rationalism in favor of revelation. It's a model against women's equality in favor of misogyny. And the utopia that he wanted to create is not based on Iran's past, but on what was happening in Arabia 1400 years ago. These are the two models. And people clearly now, I think, unambiguously have said, we don't want the second model. We tried it. It didn't work. If Khomeini and Khamenei had wisdom, neither of which did, they had brutality, they had dogmatism, but they didn't have wisdom. They could have taken the country that was given to them and make the model a little more palatable. Reza Shah wanted to secularize Iran. He didn't succeed completely. Khomeini and Khamenei completely secularized Iran. Iran is today, there are polls, reliable polls, anecdotal evidence, by far the most secular Muslim country on the face of the earth, maybe with the exception of Malaysia or maybe on Indonesia. I don't have the data on those, but on the Middle East I do. It's incomparable.
Before I ask you about international players and regional players, Reza Pahlavi is very vocal in the last few weeks. I saw a video clip of him just 48 hours or so ago, where he presented his vision of Iran, which is democratic, open, more economically stable, friendly with everyone. He even went further to say, oh, we don't want Abraham Accords, we want Syria Accords, and he also wants a friendship and recognition of Israel and cooperation with everyone in the region. Is that the vision that could get the support from Iranians today, or he's tainted through his historical and family relations to Shah?
I think his biggest capital right now is his name. I think there is no taint right now in Iran. There is a radical historical revisionism going on in Iran. In 1979, and still some of the so-called leftist historians keep saying that the Shah was a failure, his father was a failure, they were bullies, they were corrupt, but people of Iran have developed a different conclusion. They say that's one of the most glorious 50 years in our history. We want to go back to that. So the Pahlavi name is not a liability. I think is probably his most important political capital. But he has also created some capital of his own. He has worked for 40 years. The international community didn't pay attention to him. It doesn't mean he wasn't working. He, for 40 years, tried to create a democratic alternative to the regime, worked to create a coalition of anybody who was against the regime. And now I think the most appealing of his program is what he says. He says, I have this capital, I have this name, and I have this recognition. I want the same thing as people want, secular democratic Iran. I'll help this process of transition. I'm not going to go back, sit on the throne. I'm going to go back to Iran. We'll have a period of transition. We'll let the people of Iran decide. And obviously, it's the right of the people to decide whatever form they want. The form they want, I think, clearly, unambiguously, is a secular democracy, where religion and state are different, where the life of a Jew and the life of a Muslim, the life of a woman and the life of a man are equal, and they all have a equal share in determining our future. This nonsense that this regime has, where the life of a woman is half the life of a man, where Baha'is don't have the right for freedom of faith, where you can't convert without the threat of prison or execution. You can convert out of Islam to Christianity. These are barbaric rules, and people want an end to it. I think that's very
how big credit on his account is his mother, who's still alive?
Oh, I think it's one of the biggest credits. Absolutely. I think that's a very insightful question you're asking. Clearly, you've been following Iran closely. I've actually written a piece about Reza Pahlavi that is hopefully coming out maybe today. And that's one of the points that I make. She has emerged as, I think, one of now the most popular figures in Iran. People have looked back at what she did when she was the queen. She was singularly honest. She was very cultured. She worked for children. She created one of the most successful programs to educate children in villages, take films to villages. She created one of the best museums of modern art anywhere in the world under her tutelage. And then she came to exile. She suffered for 44 years. You look at all the things that she and her children have suffered. Two of her children committed suicide. And she bore it all with a remarkable dignity. And that, I think, has given her, in my view, a singular place. Exactly one of the most important parts of Reza Pahlavi's political capital.
What about the region? What region accept Iran like that? Open, democratic, secular, to be same acceptable in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, Oman, Turkey, or Israel? And can that be the shift? Because he said in this video, we will stop support, as he said, I called him terrorist organizations in the region. I presume that he was thinking about Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas in Palestine.
I think that would be a winning foreign policy for Iranians. Absolutely. One of the slogans in Iran for the last 10 years, it's not just recently, for the last 10 years, one of the slogans, one of the most repeated slogans in Tehran, Iran, was neither Gaza nor Lebanon, long live Iran. That was a direct assault on the Iranian regime's policy of pouring billions of dollars in Syria, in Lebanon, in Gaza, and trying to undermine, the other aspect of it is that try to undermine PLO, try to undermine the Palestinian Authority. No one has fought the two-state solution. There are two people who have fought the two-state solution very, very systematically. The conservatives in Israel and the Iranian regime. What did the Shah do? We now have great deal of documents about what the Shah's policy was. The Shah had normal relations with Israel. Iran was next to Turkey, along with Turkey, not next to it, along with Turkey, the first Muslim country to de facto recognize Israel. But Iran was always, from 1948, also defending, the Shah's regime was defending the right of Palestinians to a state. The Palestinians have, Iran under the Shah was one of the closest allies of Israel. But look at the documents. We now have most of the documents here because we have the Zahidi papers here. He was a foreign minister for many years. He was Iran's ambassador to the US, to the UK. Almost every time the Shah or foreign minister meet with Israeli officials, they discuss the current events, and they also say, you know, you have to give up the territories. You have to allow a Palestinian state. To me, that's what a rational government in Iran would do. This regime came from day one and said the destruction of the state of Israel is our goal. Why? What national interest does Iran have to say that the destruction of Israel is our goal?
But let me ask you this. Trump is threatening a military action against this regime. How productive or unproductive that would be? He said to Iranian people, take over institutions, military to turn towards people, and help is coming. What kind of help would be the best kind of help to come from the international community? Is that to strengthen, as you said in our last interview, diaspora outside and not diaspora inside, but the people inside to topple the regime, or to go with this military action to shake them even more and then to have people to take over?
I still believe what I discussed the last time we discussed. I don't think the solution to this regime is military from outside. The solution to this regime is to empower the Iranian people to get rid of this regime, to make this a more equal playing field. The Iranian regime has money, it has guns, it has some international support from China, some international support from Russia, some international support from its proxies. And the Iranian people are fighting this with essentially bare hand. The regime has now literally created a sort of digital iron curtain around Iran. They've shut down the internet. The international community can break that. The international community should right now pour in Starlinks and every technology they have to make the Iranian people capable of sending out their messages and finding out what is happening in the international community. The international community should right now throw Iran out of every international organization it is a member of. EU has started. EU has now banned Iranian diplomats, which are often terrorists, from entering their buildings. Close their diplomatic places because they don't represent Iran anymore. Freeze all of their assets. Freeze the assets of their oligarchs. That will make the playing field more equal. Let them know that anybody who is involved in killing innocent people, ordering innocent people, is going to not only be banned from travel to the US, but to Europe, that eventually they will be held accountable. They will be sent to International Court of Justice. Do that, Iranian people will take care of this beast themselves. Attacking it, I think, doesn't do anything other than serve a symbolic purpose for President Trump to say, I said help is coming, help has come. That's not the kind of help that I think people of Iran need. That's the kind of help they need and they hope for. And, you know, when Trump made the threat, I think we have to, when Trump initially made the threat, these people, after the initial few days of killing 3,500, 20,000, I don't know, they changed their rhetoric. At the height of this, the head of the Iranian judiciary went on television. I saw it. I was going to use a profanity. He went and said, I'm going to personally sit on trial. This is the head of Iran's judiciary, and put these bastards who are all heretics on trial and kill them. They are not saying that anymore. So the offer of help was helpful, but when no help came, when people took to the streets, that was hurtful.
Abbas, thank you so very much for your time, and I appreciate this conversation.